All right, guys, Mike here with Life Elevated Trailers. When you buy a Freeride, there's a lot to learn. So what we wanted to do is put together an instructional video for you as the owner that you can reference anytime you need help with an issue to solve it, or just remembering exactly how things work. Reference this video. We're going to go through a ton of systems. So I made a list. We're going to go through the drain valves, the furnaces, the batteries, the 110 power, the inverter, the fans, fuses, the tank selector on the fuel tanks, the solar panel, how it works, the fridge, the water heater, the black tank, gray tank, city water versus the water tank, generator size for the different AC configurations. All of those things are going to get covered in sections. And they'll be labeled at the beginning of each section what we're going to go over in that. So if you just need help with one thing, you can kind of skip through the video until you find that section. But I want to make this as a help video, and hopefully this proves to be really helpful to a lot of people, even with other brands of trailers as well that use the same Dometic components. All right, you've got two 6-volt batteries on board on this trailer, which means that you wire them together so that they make 12 volts. So if you hook a positive cable here and a negative cable on the negative terminal on one battery to a 12-volt source, you will ruin it. You have to hook your 12-volt power onto where all the red cords are coming off. You have to hook your ground onto where all the black cords are coming off. These batteries will run the trailer for quite a bit of time, depending on your load. But if you consistently are killing these batteries, you need to add more or add more solar to the trailer. And there's no perfect number for that, right? Everyone's usage is different. So if you're constantly killing them, you just need to add more. And there's a lot of space in here to put more batteries in. We can help you out with that here at Life Elevated, or you can do it yourself. One other thing about these batteries, you've got large fuses coming off of these doing a bunch of different things. This green 30 amp, this yellow 20 amp, and these big 40 and 60 amp fuses all run different systems in the trailer. And the way that you check a fuse is you pull it out and you look and make sure that the center wire is not burnt apart or disconnected. If the center wire looks burnt and popped, I call it popped, that means that fuse is no longer making contact and it's no longer sending power across through the wire, and it needs to be replaced. So those are your batteries. They're two 6 volts. So the trailer comes with two 7.5 gallon propane tanks if you get it from Life Elevated, because we upgrade them to make them larger. And this is your propane tank selector switch. I can't tell you how many people have called me telling me their furnace doesn't work. And the first thing I tell them is go out and look in your window. If it's red, you don't have propane. And 90% of the time, I hate to say it, they need to turn the tanks on. These tanks, you should shut them off when you're not using your trailer, and they just got to remember to turn them back on. Once they're on, then you have to select which tank you want the furnace, the water heater, all those things to pull from. So if you want to use this tank over here, you point it this way. If you want to use this tank over here, you point it that way. But it's key to make sure that your tanks are actually on and that this window is clear to show you that there's propane on actually flowing through the regulator. So this is your fuel handle right here. And then you have a tank selector switch back here. Your front tank, or the tank labeled Gen on your fuel gauge, which I'll get to, is with the handle this way. To do your rear tank, turn it 90 degrees. That pulls from your rear tank. Super simple, right? Come around the side here. This is your fuel dispensing system right here on the driver's side of the trailer. Okay. To turn the pump on, click that on. Now the key to that though is don't leave your fuel pump running when you're not pumping fuel. Put your handle in what you're going to pump fuel into, turn the pump on, immediately start pumping fuel. When you're done pumping fuel, turn the switch off, keep the handle pulled, let all the fuel drain out of the hose and everything, and then hang it back up. And if you want to know the levels of your front and rear tank, obviously front tank, rear tank, and that's why it's labeled Gen inside that compartment. All right, this is your water fill station, driver's side of the trailer right by the man door. You fill this up with a hose if you want to put water into the 50-gallon onboard water tank. And when you fill up that water tank, you use the water pump to supply pressure to the sink, shower, all those things. This is the city water connection. You actually screw your hose onto this connection and leave it on and pressurized. So then you use the pressure from the city hose or the water going through the hose to pressurize your sink, shower, and other water on the trailer. So those are your two water systems. This is a breather valve. As you push water into your 50-gallon tank, this lets air out so that you don't blow the tank up. Okay, just like the fuses on the front of the trailer and on the batteries, you have a second fuse panel inside the trailer. This left side is your 110 fuses. That's your microwave, inverter, front AC, rear AC, all those different things. Your fuses over here are your 12-volt systems. So if you're having an issue with your trailer and some system is not working, you want to check your fuses on the front of your trailer. You want to check your fuses inside this fuse panel to make sure that nothing has popped or been blown that just needs to be replaced. All right, here we've got your solar panel charge controller. Solar panels are a little bit of a mystery, so I'm going to do a really quick Reader's Digest version. The only thing a solar panel does is charge batteries. On this trailer, it does nothing else. So sun hits the solar panel pushes power into the batteries, and then the batteries power everything in the trailer. This charge controller tells you what voltage your batteries are at. It does not tell you how much voltage it's getting from the sun. So your batteries are at 12.7 volts. And that means that this charge controller is working because they're over the 12.2 they would sit at normally without the sun on them. We have the lights on, we have things running, and we're still over what the batteries generally sit at when they're getting no charge at all. This is your power inverter. You see the display lit up here? It says 12.3 volts. That's what it's getting from the batteries. So what this does, and don't get lost here because this is kind of a hard concept if you're not familiar with a lot of this. This takes power from the 12-volt batteries, those red guys in the front, the two 6-volts that are wired together to make 12 volts, and it changes it to 110-volt power, which is like the power in your home that you use with these plugs. So the display just went out. It didn't sense any load on it, and so the display went off, but there's a little green light on here that says power. If you leave this power inverter on, it's going to sit there and drain power out of the batteries. And it drains a lot, actually, just sitting here. It's a large unit. It's got a fan on it. So when it's on, it is pulling power from the batteries. So you can push this little button again. You see it lights up. So if I'm sitting somewhere, I don't have my generator going, I'm not plugged into shore power, but I want to use my 110 outlets up to 1,000 watts, which is like a small microwave, different 110 appliances. You'll just have to learn what the wattage is on your stuff. You can plug it into the outlets and use the battery power changed through the inverter to make 110 power, to power your stuff when you aren't plugged in and you're not on generator power. This little light's on, so to turn it off, you have to push and hold this button and hold it for a few seconds. It does that, now it's off, okay? If I do this, turn it on, and this has been a big problem people have been having because they haven't realized that this display goes out. We'll wait just a second for that display to shut off. It only takes about 10 seconds. And just to reiterate, pulls power from the batteries, changes it to 110 power so that you can use your normal outlets without being plugged into shore power or having your generator running. What they do is they come over to this and they just push it and they think, okay, I turned it off. It's going to turn off. All you did was light the display back up. You have to push and hold. Now it's off. All right, this is your freezer fridge combo, and your control panel is in the freezer. Okay, you've got an on-off switch, you've got an auto and gas switch, you have a check light, and you have a temperature selector. To turn the fridge on, if you're plugged into AC power or if you have gas in your gas tanks. This trailer is neither, but it does have a little bit of gas in it when we're testing it. Click the on button, okay? That little light lights up to tell you, hey, what temperature do you want this thing at? You can move it by selecting that. The next thing you can do is it says, hey, I'm on gas mode because there was gas in this thing last time we checked. So that's running off of the propane. The only other way this runs is if you have it plugged into a generator or plugged into AC power. And to do that, push that again and it goes to auto. And the auto function comes on, and because it's running on propane only, gas is still on. If I plugged this into 110 power, that light, gas would go out. If it doesn't light on propane and the check light comes on, turn it off, wait 3 seconds, and turn it back on. Sometimes there's air in the gas line right off the bat that needs to kind of be purged out, and then it will light. And that's all there is to it. So this either runs on propane or it runs on 110 power. Nothing else. And to turn it on, you pushed it in. To turn it off, it comes out. And then this is how you select either 110 power, which is auto, or gas only, which is when the gas light's illuminated. Okay. One of the biggest problems that we have with people is the furnace, and it's generally user error. It is not the furnace having an issue. So this is the thermostat for the furnace, and the number one thing when people call that I ask them is, are your propane tanks open, and have you selected a tank, and is the window clear? So make sure that you've turned on your tank, that you have the arrow pointing to one of your tanks, and that the window is not red, indicating that there's no propane. Once you've solved that, once you check that, then your next step is to come in here. If you come closer here, this is your on-off switch. It says off and it has a little arrow. So to turn your furnace on, you click that away. Okay, so you click right here. You'll hear the fans come on in the furnace, and then there's a second part on this thermostat, is this slider on the bottom that selects the temperature. If this isn't all the way over, chances are it's too warm in the trailer for the furnace to actually light. Moving over here, you can hear the fans blowing. We have the control panel off on this, but there is air coming out of this furnace right now. What you'll hear after a few seconds of the fans spinning to clear out the air, clear out all the, if there's anything in the furnace, they just clear it out. Then you'll hear a clicking. You'll hear click, 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 and then you'll hear the furnace light. If it goes click, 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 and doesn't light, it means it wasn't getting propane, or your voltage is too low on your trailer. You're at like 10.8 volts. Furnaces are designed to not kill you. So if they have sensed any problem, they will not light, because their number one goal is to not kill you. The last thing to check if your furnace won't light is this little fuse right here. If it's popped out, your furnace detected a problem and it popped that fuse out, and it will not light until you push it back in. So let me take a quick recap. The first thing, make sure your switch is on your thermostat, and your temperature selector is all the way up, or up enough that the thermostat is actually turning the furnace on. Your second thing to check, that your propane tanks are open, that your selector switch is selecting one, and the window on your regulator is not red, that it is clear. The third thing to check if it won't light is that your battery voltage is not super low. It will not light if your batteries are depleted. And the fourth thing is check your fuse and make sure that your fuse is not popped out. If it still won't light, you have a bigger issue like a sail switch, thermocoupler, and that's something that you will have to bring your trailer here to fix probably, or if you're super handy, you can Google those things and check it out. But on your furnace, make sure all those things, and it should work trouble-free for years and years and years. For the water heater, we'll start on the inside here at the control panel. I'll show you everything, how it's supposed to work, and then I'll take you around the outside of the trailer on the passenger side where the control panel is, and I'll go through all of that. The water heater is very simple though. But one thing you have to remember, before you turn the water heater on, before you light it, make sure it has water in it, which goes back to the valves that we went over in this video as well, making sure that they are in the up position so that water flows into the water heater tank and fills it. Turn your water pump on so that your water pump pumps water into your water heater, then turn your water heater on. You click this button up, and the water heater, just like a furnace or anything else, will light. Again, it is designed not to kill you, and emit carbon monoxide or pump propane into your trailer. So if it has a situation where it's not getting propane, where it's not getting sufficient power, it shuts down. So if your water heater won't work, Check that your propane tanks are open, one is selected, and the window is clear. Check that you have water in the water heater, that your valves are in the right position, and then make sure that all your fuses are not burnt, and make sure that your trailer has sufficient 12-volt voltage to run the water heater and ignite it. If it doesn't, the water heater will not ignite. You can hear it clicking really clearly from the outside if it is trying to light, if the igniter is sparking. And that's all there is to it. So this is your main water tank. It's 50 gallons, and this valve is super simple. There's only one. This is the direction you want to pump water into it, pointed toward the front of the trailer. This is the direction you want to drain water out of it. There's nothing in the middle. It's either that way or the other way. This is your water heater bypass right down here, these two valves. So with your valves in the up position, that's allowing water to flow into your water heater to be used and heated. If you want to bypass it completely, pull these knobs forward, and that way it shuts off the water going into the water heater so that you can put antifreeze in your lines at the end of the season. Again, that's bypassed, straight up and down, or straight up. That's so water flows into the water heater. This is your water heater control panel. This is the outlet for your furnace inside the trailer. So if this is blowing hot air out of it, then your furnace is lit and running. To open this, you take this little eyelet, you pull it, and you rotate it. This panel drops down, gives you access to all the brains inside of your water heater. The main things you want to test if your water heater isn't working is your thermostat over voltage. What can happen is like a spider or something will get inside of this and catch on fire and then burn the fuse as well. So if you don't have power on the opposite side of it, on this side, then you know that's your problem. And you can do that with a test light. If you're not qualified, you don't know how any of this works, just give us a call. But just as a quick troubleshoot, if there's heat blowing out right here, your water heater is lit and is actually the furnace inside that heats the water is burning. To drain your water heater at the end of the season, this is your main drain valve right here. You just twist this guy out and pull him out, and all your water will flow out of your water heater. And then you do have a 2-amp fuse right here on your control panel that you also want to check if you're having issues with your water heater. These are your drain valves underneath the trailer. These are used to drain all the water out of your lines. They are closed right now, perpendicular to the valve, and you rotate them to parallel to open them. All right, this Freeride is equipped with 2 air conditioners. That means it has one back here, one in the front. To do 2 air conditioners, you have to have a 50-amp service because air conditioners pull a ton of power. They never run on 12 volt. There's almost 0 applications in the RV world where an air conditioner will run on 12 volt power. It does exist. It's very expensive. 99% of the time, you're either plugged into shore power or you are plugged into a generator to run an air conditioner. Each air conditioner needs about 3,500 watts of power to start and to get started up and start the compressor. So if you're going to try to run 2 air conditioners on a trailer at the same time, you need about a 7,000 watt generator. To do just one, you need a 3,500 watt generator. Very simple to operate these. The controls are very intuitive. The gray side on the selector switch is just the fan. When you kick over into the blue side, that is the air conditioning. You have low on the fan speed, medium, and high. And then you can select all the way back to turn off. The other thing you want to make sure is that you have your selector switch on cold. Other than that, there's almost nothing to know. If your air conditioners aren't working, chances are you popped a fuse, your generator doesn't have enough power, or you plugged it into your house on a 15-amp circuit on a long extension cord, and it blew the breaker. You can't do that. You have to have a short run, thick extension cord if you're going to plug it into your house, and you need to find a 20-amp GFCI outlet if you want to run an air conditioner just off of a plug on your house. All the RV parks will have the proper power, and if your generator is big enough to run these, it will have the proper plug. The trailer comes with a power plug, power cord with it that is the correct size, so you can't mess that up. One more thing about air conditioners that's really important. Do not start them both at the same time. Start the one, wait about 30 seconds to a minute, then start the other one. The reason for that is because when the compressor kicks on, it pulls a ton of power right at first to actually power up and start doing, I don't want to get into it, but doing the process of cooling the air. So start the one, wait 30 seconds to a minute, then start the second one. All right, another question we get a lot is why won't my fan work? Okay, the fan has three ways to turn it on in these trailers, and I'll show you why. First is your switch on the wall. If that's off, the fan will not go. So you turn this on, and look, the fan's doing nothing. And you're like, dang it, it doesn't work. And you call us. And I say, okay, well, there's three places. Did you turn it on the wall? It's always the bottom switch. The next is the speed selector switch. You can select 0 and turn the fan off right here. So you select it to 1. It still doesn't work, okay? The reason for that is this is a bidirectional fan. It can pull air into the trailer or it can exhaust air out. Click the direction arrow, off it goes, okay? So now I've got it running. I've got it set how I like it. I can then more conveniently turn it off and on from the switch on the wall. Let's say I go inside and I think, yeah, it's working off switch on the wall and my kids are out here playing and they turn it off, and then I come out here and click this and it doesn't work, and I've forgotten that there are switches on the fan that need to be selected as well to turn the fans on. So make sure that you check all that before you call to say, hey, my fans don't work. All right, guys, just wanted to go over the black and gray drain. You've got 28 gallons of black and gray tank, so 28-gallon black tank, 28-gallon gray tank. Charles West does a lot of things right. They give you the drain hose, the sewer connect, and they also give you the batteries. It's not something that they nickel and dime you when you come into the dealership, and if you bought an RV, you know they did that to you. You know they charge you for your sewer hose, they charge you for your batteries. We don't. Comes included. Take this guy out. I'm not going to do it right now, but it's in there. It's ready to go for you. And you bring it around the side of your trailer. You've got two valves here. And let me tell you how to do this, because if you do it backward, it can be pretty gross, okay? Twist this guy off up under here, like so. You pull him out. This is your black tank valve. It's labeled. It's this one on the side, okay? So you hook your hose on, you put it into the sewer drain spot, pull out on this guy. This is empty, so just water's gonna come out right now. And you drain your black tank that way. So drain your, and then once your black tank is completely drained, you pull your gray tank drain, and your gray tank drains out. The nice thing about that is draining your gray tank, which is just water after your black tank, runs a bunch of water through your valve and through your hose so that it's all flushed out from the sewage with the just gray water after you're done, so you don't have sewage all through your hose when you go to disconnect it. All right, here we are at the power door. Just wanted to talk about how this works real quick to kind of ease people's fears. A lot of people ask, what if I don't have any power, or what if my power door fails? How do I get it open? That's super simple. So a standard trailer without the power door has the exact same setup. Spring here and a spring here, and the door is just operated by hand. When you add the power door, you add this center post with a powered ram. That powered ram does the work you would do to raise and lower it by hand. So if the powered ram fails, you can't get it to go, whatever, all you do is pull the pin and let the ram down, okay? And then that will allow you to operate the door just like you would as if you didn't have the power door. So to show you, the door is not going to come down flying down. It's still spring assisted. It still comes down just like normal, and then it still goes up just like normal. It's not heavy, it's not hard, it's not dangerous, and you can get the door open if you have a power issue with your power ram. All right, the last thing that sometimes gets a little confusing is the 110 power, 110 volt power versus the 12 volt power, and what runs what, okay? So the lights inside the trailer run on 12 volt power, okay? The fans run on 12 volt power. All the lights around the outside run on 12 volt power. The power awning is a 12 volt system. The water heater is a 12 volt system. The water pump is a 12 volt system. The inverter is a 12-volt system. The stereo is a 12-volt system. The furnace is a 12-volt system. And that's about it. The 110 systems in the trailer, the microwave, the fridge freezer, which can be run on propane or 110 power, but not 12 volt. The air conditioners are a 110 system. And then the thing that really confuses people about 12 volt to 110 is when you plug the trailer in with a 110 volt supply into the power plug on the outside of the trailer, there is a battery charger built into this trailer that immediately starts charging your batteries, okay? So you get 110 power that charges your batteries, and then your batteries run all the 12 volt systems. A little bit more complicated and a little bit of a wrinkle, but easy to understand. The inverter, okay? The inverter takes power from the batteries and changes it to 110 power so that you can have 110 volt power when you aren't plugged in and you aren't running your generator and you don't want to go through the hassle of starting it up and all the noise. You just need something that plugs into an outlet and you need it to work, TV, whatever, plug it in. It uses the 12 volt power from the batteries. Be mindful that if you run all the lights, the furnace, the water heater, you've got two things plugged into your outlets, you're going to drain your batteries quickly. And so in that scenario, if the trailer dies in a matter of hours, it's because you were pulling tons and tons of power from your batteries. If that's a scenario that you're going to do repeatedly and you're going to do it at night, you need to add a lot more batteries, or you need to, and if you're going to do it during the day, you need to add more solar so that you can keep up with the demand of all the juice you're pulling from your batteries. Last thing, and I want to reiterate this because this is the biggest problem we've had. To shut off the power inverter, you have to push and hold the button until this green light clicks on and then goes out. Now it's actually off. Hopefully that helps, and hopefully walking through all these systems with you guys will make it so that when you're out using your trailer, if you need a little bit of help in something that you don't know exactly how it works, you can reference this video and get the help you need wherever you are so you aren't caught with something not working because you just need a little bit of help.